Please check out Unspoiled Podcast's sponsor for this episode, Mongoose Dog Designs. Mongoose Dog Designs is where fiber art and your geeky imagination come together. Come check out our hand-crocheted Nintendo, Pokemon, and Lovecraft characters, or order a custom item to rep your favorite fandom from Harry Potter to Doctor Who. With an array of ideas and a willingness to bring what you want to life, Mongoose Dog Designs is here to make it happen. We even make wearable items like wristbands and hats. Use offer code UNSPOILED and Mongoose Dog Designs will donate 20% of your order to the Unspoiled Podcast Network to help support the show find a bigger audience. You can find them at facebook.com/Mongoose Dog Designs or etsy.com/shop/Mongoose Dog Designs. Thank you so much, and on with the show. This is an Unspoiled Network podcast. This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who, Season 1, Episode 6, Dalek. In this episode, you would think that the title of the episode would give it away, and yet somehow I managed to not see the title. And when the big reveal shows us that there is a Dalek here, I was like, oh, it's a Dalek! I know all about these! Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha.
And I'm Jamie.
Before we get started, I'm realizing that you might be able to hear some murmuring in the background, so I want to apologize to everybody that we have a plumber here because our shower fell apart. And, he's over there banging around and the bathroom is directly next to my office. So apologies if you hear banging and or shouting or water running or anything. And
on my end, I'm sorry if you hear crinkling of a bag of peas because I burned myself pretty bad today.
So we're both in fighting shape, is what we're saying. So yeah, this episode, I was not ready for how goofy the intro for the Daleks would be. I don't know how I expected this to go, but I really enjoy. Like, at first I wasn't sure about this. And then by the end I was like, all right, I kind of like Daleks, actually.
Yeah, I think that's how I felt, too. And I know that I had seen these back when I had seen bits and pieces of Doctor Who on PBS as a child. Mm-hmm. And it sort of tied into my, sci-fi feeling until I started actually watching sci-fi. So when they showed up, I was like, oh, this? And then I just find them so amusing and kind of adorable that I just love Daleks.
And I have a feeling this is just sort of like the kind of vague spoilers that you pick up from just pop culture. I have a feeling that despite this supposedly being the last Dalek, that it will not be the last Dalek. Because I kind of feel like there's no way that they're as popular in pop culture. Like, literally somebody on Great British Bake Off, which you and I were just discussing, mm-hmm. did a cake modeled after a Dalek.
They did.
So
right.
I feel like there's no way that this was really the last one. But...
Now, I know that you knew that there was a thing called a Dalek, mm-hmm. and kind of knew what they looked like.
Yes.
But did you know what they sounded like?
No.
Okay.
I did not know that they sounded like an angry old man at a diner demanding to know why he got charged for his refill of orange juice.
And how would that sound?
Jamie's prodding me, guys, because we started recording and then it turned out that it wasn't recording on her end and we had to redo it. So I've already done this imitation and she really wants me to do it again for you. So
I want to do the whole podcast in your Dalek voice.
I don't remember what it was how I did it. It was like, this is my orange juice. Where you charged me again for my orange juice? Like he's about to have a nervous breakdown, like right on the edge of it, where somebody in the next booth, not even the next booth, across the fucking diner is going to hear and pull their phone out and start filming because they know that he's about to go off. and it's about to get ugly for somebody. Because that was like, I think that was part of it when the Dalek first started talking. I think that was where I was like, I don't know about this, because the voice was so crazy that it wasn't until the show has gone on and I realized that no matter what he's saying, he kind of sounds like that, even when he's trying to be sort of like, are you afraid of me? Like, he's trying to be cool. He still sounds that way, and then it sort of had its own charm by then. So, yeah.
I don't know this for sure, but I think that the guy who does the voice is the same guy who did the voice in the old show.
Oh, okay, that's fun.
Yeah. I'm not... Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I read that somewhere.
All right, so let's start off talking about how how the Doctor just cannot let go of this grudge, and I kind of, like, feel for him. And also, let's talk about how the American dude in this episode has the kind of face that should never be seen by another human being. I hated his face so deeply that when he was on screen, I was looking away, and I didn't even realize I was doing it.
He's like if Jon Favreau got rolled over by a steamroller and then re-puffed up.
Re-puffed up. There's something about his face that feels very inflexible. Like when he's talking, it's like he's not made of skin. Like there's, I don't know.
It's all that Botox, I guess.
I feel like that has to be what it is. But all right, so the TARDIS again responds to a call for help, which we're getting more and more verification that the Doctor does not exactly have the control over the TARDIS that we seemed to think he had. And they wind up somewhere that seems to be a museum of alien artifacts. And him and Rose are wandering around, and there's this bizarre helmet that looks like a annoyed face emoticon. With tin cans on the sides of its head. And
like little tubes.
Yeah, and tubes that stick out, and above it, like it's wearing giant condenser headphones. And he says that this is an old friend of his. Well, enemy. The stuff of nightmares reduced to an exhibit. I'm very curious about this. The stuff
about
of nightmares.
That thing in particular, or just anything?
No, that thing in particular.
Okay.
Because I can't... It's so...
Because why is that scary?
It's so bizarre looking. It's so... It does look kind of creepy. I won't lie that... I won't try and be like, well, I don't know why he's so intimidated by it. Because I don't think that if somebody walked around a corner wearing that I'd be like, ooh, Jesus, did you hear that?
I did hear that.
Good God. I don't think that I'd be like, oh, haha, what's this? I think I'd be like, okay. Okay. And then I would turn around and walk the other way.
Well, we don't know what it looked like fully. Just, we always thought it was the head or
the helmet or whatever it is.
Yeah. So we don't know how big it was or what makes it scary.
I would love it if this was the whole thing, though, and he's like the stuff of nightmares, and then we finally saw one, and it was just this helmet, but like on wheels, tiny little wheels, rolling around. It's like, no, it actually is kind of creepier.
It's like the fear demon in that Buffy episode that's like actual size.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. That was such a good little joke. I forgot about that. That's funny. So... It turns out, like, he says that there was a actual signal that led them here, because Rose is saying, well, maybe that's what was calling you. And he says, no, it was something alive that called us. And just as he's saying that, out runs a small army to hold them in place until the boss man gets here. And as Rose wisely points out, well, if they're collecting alien objects, that makes you Exhibit A. And I was like, you know what? Rose has got a point. maybe when we saw that they were putting things in under glass, we should have gotten right back on that TARDIS and run away. But, you know, he's here because somebody needed help, and he's not just going to bail because he doesn't know yet that they are his ancient enemy. So, yeah.
And that's another thing about understanding his thing with the Daleks, with us not having watched those old series.
Mm-hmm.
Series. That we don't know what he's been through with them. We only know what we're told here.
Yeah, and to be honest, as much as I, like, fundamentally wound up agreeing with Rose's stance, I still was kind of like, no, but I feel like he's right, though. Just kill it. It's just kill it. It's just the one, and it's just killed a bunch of people. Go ahead. It's fine.
Maybe you would make a good Dalek.
I would probably make a good, like, if I were able to successfully achieve what I have been trying my entire life to do, which is completely shut down my emotional side, then I think I would.
Well, that is what they are.
Yep.
They're genetically engineered to only feel hate. I don't advise you going that route.
I mean, it's almost complete. I may as well just let it happen at this point. I think the progress bar is at like 85%. So,
well, you know how we love to watch progress bars.
That's the only that you could make a whole show called like Anxiety Express, and it would just be progress bars, and they would move very slowly, or it would be a progress bar that moved very quickly, but as soon as it did, there'd be a new one that popped up for a different thing that had to happen before the next thing could happen. You know how that is? You ever have that when you're installing a program?
Yeah.
Tricks you into thinking it's almost done. Psych, there's 7 more things. So, then we meet, what's his face? Henry Van Staten.
Yeah.
Who is terrible.
Yeah, he just sucks.
And he is kind of ruling the world, but nobody knows it. It's a shadow government situation. But he's not government. It's just, you know, everything else, basically. So kind of government, probably.
He's kind of controlling the government, too, because he's saying, who do we want to be the next president? Mm-hmm. And then fires a guy who says something or recommends something he doesn't like. Right.
Yeah, cans him. And then this other girl comes up who looks very much like Carrie Russell to me. And she winds up being his second in command and ultimately winds up throwing him to the wolves later, which is pretty great.
In the same way that he did to this guy. Who has their memories wiped and then, you know, put him in Memphis or someplace that starts with M.
Mm-hmm. Someplace that starts with S. So yeah, and he says, find out if my toy is working finally. And we get a scene of some guy drilling into something, but we don't see what it is. And he says that it's not talking, it's screaming. Which is a very fucked up situation. It's hard for me to like feel the same way about this because it's obviously a tin can and not blood and guts flying in all directions. But that is essentially what's happening on the Daleks end of things, I think.
This time watching it, because I rewatched it a little while ago, I noticed that what I thought was the sort of drilling noise was the Dalek screaming.
Oh. You know what? I don't think I realized that at the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Noted.
It's like underneath the drill noise, but you can hear that they're just not giving it away yet to the audience that it's Dalek. But if you listen, you can tell.
Can you hear me screaming underneath it all? Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I did not pick up on that at all. And then we have, and is this tool that Van Staten is holding, that the doctor shows him how to use, is this something that we have seen before?
No, not that I've seen.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that I hadn't like missed something, because it turns out to be like a musical instrument. But for a moment, I thought that it was his, that it was something of his that he like transformed to look like it was harmless. Like, I don't know. I just, they linger on it so much in the episode that I expected it to turn out to be more significant than it winds up being. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a cool idea. Like, it's basically like sounds as if you're doing those, playing like the glasses, the crystal glasses, when you run your finger around the top.
Yeah.
It has that sort of tone to it. And this dude does not realize that the Doctor is an alien with 2 hearts. Spoilers. And at first when the Doctor is like, who are you? He's like you don't know. And I found it weird that he said, like you don't know, initially, because it seemed like this is not supposed to be well known. Like he's hiding, you know, but I guess he meant
this place is hiding,
right?
But I think everything else, people know who he is. It's like not knowing who Jeff Bezos is or Bill Gates,
right? Yeah, so he owns the internet, as it turns out. And Rose's response is, nobody owns the internet. And he's like, and we're going to let them keep on thinking that. Which was pretty fun. I like that little, just, exactly, good girl. Oh, his face, though. I can't handle it, guys. I have it playing right now as we're talking about it. And I don't know what it is about his face that makes me so angry. I think it's a combo of his weirdly high cheekbones that are very round with the teeth in front that seem too small for his face.
He does look like he's had work done.
Yeah.
This actor.
Yeah, work that doesn't seem to go together somehow. Yeah. I don't know what it... but this is when he says that he's going to stick the Doctor in with this thing that is still anonymous at this point in order to try and get it to talk. And we don't know what it is, but we find out very shortly and things start to go left. Because this thing had just been sitting there not talking, but also not fucking up their lives until the Doctor came in and riled it all up again.
Yeah, and it starts yelling exterminate, which is its catchphrase. But its little gun doesn't seem to work. And once that is revealed, the Doctor is like, oh, well, look at you. Yep. Can't do anything.
Yeah, he's really gleeful is the word I want there when he realizes that, oh, motherfucker cannot do anything to me. How's it feel? And do we get an explanation later? Oh, well, I guess it's absorbing Rose's life force that gets its gun working again?
Yeah, it absorbed her DNA, which helped it, like, go through a regeneration process where it could, like, I guess, get its strength back. They don't really explain how that works or why.
Yeah. All right. I guess. I think that was the, like, things like this that I know I should not get hung up on. I do. And it's hard for me. So the whole, like, oh, I absorbed her DNA and now all of a sudden I feel emotions. Like, there's none of that makes any sense.
Well, it caused him to evolve a little bit.
Right. Which, there's so much about that doesn't make sense. Like, especially once you see what Daleks actually are inside of this giant machine. The fact that any of this works the way that it's supposed, like, and it's basically magic. I just have to be like, okay, it's magic. That's how it goes.
Look,
but it's
I'm
hard
not
for
an
me to
expert
do
on
that.
Aliens, so I don't know how all their shit works or how their armor can absorb DNA. I just have to go with it. If you say so.
Yeah. All right.
You're like a weird little octopus inside of there, but
yeah,
sure.
Definitely an octopus.
You know that there's a theory that our octopi are made of DNA that is not found in anything else on this planet.
There's a theory?
There's, I think, evidence. Like, their DNA is so different that it doesn't seem to have evolved from anything else on the planet.
Ooh. Well, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, which makes scientists think maybe they're alien.
Well, that would explain
make
a
sense.
lot.
It would. They're wicked smart. Wicked smart.
Wicked smart. All octopi are from Boston.
Or Rhode Island, which is how we talk to.
That's true, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself with the DNA thing, because first there's the conversation between the Doctor and the Dalek, where he is very upset about this thing existing anymore at all, and very excitedly tells it that it's the last one, and that he was there for when the others all died and made it happen. And when the Dalek replies that, well, yeah, you are also the last one of your kind, so we are the same, he gets very upset. It's very touchy. And it's an interesting, like, I'm just really curious exactly what that means, what he did. Like, I know that there's previous seasons that explain all of that. But I'm kind of going with this right now, like, that does not exist, and treating it like I'll find out eventually, which I figure remaking this show, they will explain certain things at some point. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not positive that this Time War is something that had its own series of episodes, or I know there were some like TV movies that were made, because there's like the Doctors, and I think it was like the 8th Doctor, which is the one before him, only had like 1 or 2 TV movies. He didn't have full series.
Okay.
So I'm not positive. I kind of always took it like this is something that happened to this Doctor, and that they'll explain it. But I can be completely wrong about that.
Okay. Yeah. I wonder. Well, we'll just wait and see. I'm not going to look anything up. I will never do that.
I can do a little research and ask some questions to get some clarification on that, because I honestly don't know.
So while he's having this like face-off and about to try and annihilate this last Dalek with a huge smile on his face, by the way, he's very manic in that scene. Mm-hmm. Rose is pretending to not know anything about aliens as she chats up Adam, cute boy, who works in computers and can almost run the world, apparently, via his hacking skills. And
yeah,
they
he's
are
very
flirting.
smart, he says.
Yeah, genius. And she's like, oh, really? You're a genius? And he's like, well, yeah, like, I am, though. I can't help it.
Yeah. He's like, I was born clever.
Yep. And yeah, they're just like, oh, flirting so much. And he's like, are you and the Doctor? And she's like, no, we're not. Oh, good. Why is that good? It just is. What? Which I'm like, I guess she either doesn't hear or just chooses to not acknowledge the fact that the Dalek calls her the woman he loves.
Yeah.
But you know what? If I were Rose, I would also not acknowledge that.
And I think that the Dalek is making assumptions based on the fact that the Doctor didn't want the Dalek to kill her.
I mean, yeah, I guess when you're built on hate, you figure that there's no way anyone cares what happens to anybody else unless it's love.
Yeah.
It couldn't just be, caring about their humanity or life for the sake of it.
I mean, based on what we've seen in 6 episodes, I wouldn't say the Doctor loves her like that. If he cares about her, he wants to keep her safe. He likes her. He doesn't want her to die. Although he seems to make decisions that could kill her, as we see. And
yeah, he does.
he has to make those hard choices. It's her or the world. And this is the second time that it's like, well, I guess it's her. Because I gotta save the world.
Yeah, like, I really wonder how I would react if some guy that I was with, and, you know, not even romantically, like, she clearly does not see it that way. So just you were with as friends, really decided to sacrifice me for the sake of the world. Would I be understanding about that? Or would I be like, really? Really? I can't decide how I'd feel about it.
She seems to understand.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, and it's real quick spoilers for Scandal. You watched Scandal a little, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, her voice says to me.
I was gonna finish it. I was still recording it in the last season, and I realized every time I put it on, I was doing anything else and didn't pay a single bit of attention. I was like, forget it. I just deleted the whole thing. I did not care.
Correct response.
Yeah.
Yeah. I realized that, well, there's a season where Fitz literally declares wars.
Yeah.
In order to get her back. Because
when she gets kidnapped.
Yeah. And he thinks that he's being noble and romantic. And when she's finally released and comes home, she can't even look at him. Because he did something so despicable in her eyes that he really thought was like a declaration of love. And she's like, it's a declaration of how little you care about other human beings. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I was so glad because I really wasn't sure if the show was going to like treat that with the gravity that it deserved. And I'm not even sure it did, but at least it had her acknowledge how insane that was to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that I could react that way in this sort of situation as well. Because it's ultimately really is the same thing. If he had not done that, maybe she would have died, but he would not have wasted the lives of a bunch of people. And it's pretty much this, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm not super sure. I just don't have a lot of faith in myself.
We see what the Dalek could do. It's obviously smart. And it's got all these people shooting at it, which he says it's got force fields. It's not, your bullets are going to melt before it gets anywhere near him. Mm-hmm. But he knows to get the sprinklers going and to then shoot at the water, which will electrocute everybody all at once. That's right. Just one group of people. If he, with those capabilities, could get out, then yeah, everybody could die. Mm-hmm. So it's a hard decision, sort of, but the way the Doctor looks at it is it's one person who I care about or everybody on this planet. Mm-hmm. And I think Rose gets that.
I really think she does too. Like when she finally tells him it's not your fault, don't, you know, I get sincerity from that. I think she really means it when she's saying that. She's not just trying to make him feel better.
Right.
I don't think that she could have continued to travel in good conscience with somebody who would make a different decision because they run into these kinds of situations more often than they should. So chances are he will have to make this kind of call again.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We're jumping all over the place, but that's fine. Yeah, he does wind up getting like X-rayed in a very unsanitary fashion. He's like up
I was
against
wondering
this
how
whack.
much you enjoyed this.
Not at all, to be honest.
I mean, just because it's Eccleston who you are attracted to and he's strapped up shirtless.
Yeah, all. I really expected to enjoy it and like at all. And I didn't. Like, yeah, it's too, he's standing in such a way that there's no, like he doesn't have his posture under control. Yeah. So it's not doing him any favors. The whole like scenario is just so like cold looking that it just made me go, oh God, somebody throw a blanket over him or something.
All he needed was a big X behind him and it was the Bolton flag.
Yeah. And also the guy whose face I never want to look at's on the screen at the same time most of this scene. So also can't handle that.
What do you think of the two hearts?
I have no idea. Like, are there animals that have... I know that cows have 4 stomachs, right?
Yes. But I don't believe anything has 2 hearts.
Okay. I don't... Yeah, is it just redundancy? That, like, if one fails, I get the other one? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. He looks like a human, but he's obviously not a human because he has 2 hearts.
Right.
And I think it's just Time Lord physiology. I don't know. I think it's neat.
I could see, like, if you're traveling through time, maybe that, wears and tears on you. Maybe he didn't start out with 2 hearts. Maybe something's going on and his heart got confused about when it was. And now there's 2. Maybe he traveled back and forth a little too quick and only part of him.
He splinched.
Yeah.
He splinched his heart.
He splinched his heart. Yeah, that's it. I'm going with that.
I mean, you obviously don't need 2 hearts to travel in the TARDIS.
Yeah, I guess you don't. So, like, yeah, I don't know. And this fucking idiot wants to patent it.
For
to
what?
Which I'm like, what is that? What do you even mean patent it? What good does this do? Like, I don't understand the point of it. He mentioned something about they found the cure for the common cold, which of course they kept because why would they ever cure it? Which is really just like leaning right into that anti-vaxxer sort of argument, but okay.
It's also like peak capitalism.
Right.
Oh, look, we could fix it so that nobody gets a cold. But we could make money off of giving little fixes.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what you do with the heart, though.
I don't either.
He's just like, oh, I'm totally patenting that. And I'm like, I'm sure that will be very easy because nobody wants that. So go ahead. Like, so this is the scene because Rose and Adam, he like figures out via some sort of hack that they're torturing whatever the alien is. And she is not aware of the relationship that the doctor has with this thing. So she's like, oh, we have to find him and save it. And she goes to see what it is. And it plays the, oh, poor me. They're torturing me. It's terrible. And gets her to lay her hand on it, which almost... I think they said earlier that somebody else who touched it, they died, right?
No, the person got close to it and, like, was unprotected in, like, unprotected gear.
Okay.
And it burned him up. I think they probably disabled his little gun or something.
Gotcha.
But did you think it was manipulating her? Because I thought it was strangely sincere.
I did not think that. I thought it was tricking her. There's like, I don't know. It's acting sad. And it supposedly cannot feel that until she touches it and it begins to evolve.
I thought it was exhausted. Like they've been torturing him and they can't kill him. So it's just exhausting.
I don't know. He says, I shall die alone. And then like the little head like droops as if to be like, oh.
No, I get what you're saying.
So yeah, I don't know.
I totally can see it that way. That just isn't how I interpreted it. I thought it was, if anything, it was for the audience to understand Rose's level of empathy.
Okay. Well, guys, tell me. Was the evil Dalek being sincere or being super evil? I mean,
with Daleks, it's probably super evil.
What's with this sucker thing?
I don't know.
It sucks some guy to death? We don't get details on that. And, excuse me, I would like details on that.
This little plunger.
How, though? Like, because you could get so gross with it. You could have it suck his internal organs, like, right out of his mouth.
It's a family show.
I mean,
but then it can use that same plunger to figure out what the code is to get out.
Yes.
I guess it's just his arm.
It's like maybe it's got fingers buried inside.
All I can imagine is when they were creating this Dalek creature back in the 60s, and they're like, we're on limited budget. What can we put together? Plunger. Sure.
Yeah, that's actually kind of great if you're building like a cosplay at home. It doesn't get much easier than that.
Except for the rest of the Dalek.
I could see that being pretty straightforward too, though, because there's lots of edges to it. It's not perfectly smooth. So you could just use like, yeah, I'm looking at this. Nah, I could do this. Maybe I'll do this.
I have seen people cosplay as Daleks, but like it'll be girls wearing a cool dress that they've made that has like the big round things going down it. And then they'll like carry a plunger.
So here comes its great escape, because her touching it revived it. It breaks its chains. It sucks the guy's face off. It manages to like get through this 16-digit security coded area. It shoots some people. It electrocutes a bunch of guys. And we see what is actually pretty sweet special effects, considering this crew of dudes with semi-automatics trying to shoot it, and their bullets just bounce up against a like force field around it and do absolutely nothing, which looks really cool. Like the force field kind of looks like heat shimmers, you know?
Yeah.
And I actually was impressed by that. It's like, it's a pretty basic idea, but I thought that it was done well.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, this fucking idiot is over here, and by this fucking idiot, I mean Van Staten, is like, don't you dare scratch any of it. I'm like, dude, have you seen what just happened? You don't need to worry about that. They can't scratch it. You'll be fine. But he's totally unconcerned at the fact that people are being mown down by this fucking thing, and is just very worried about his little collector item. Mm-hmm. So I hate him. I know I said that once already. I just needed to reiterate it. So right quick, hate him. And yeah, I just don't like. All right, so what winds up? Oh, the Dalek tries to chase them, and it hits the stairs. That's right.
Yeah, and they're all like, "Oh, well, we beat you. You don't have legs."
I got so angry at this part. I got so angry, Jamie. Oh my god.
Which part? That they were taunting it, or that it could elevate itself?
That it elevating itself was awesome. 100% fine with that. I got really mad that they're running for their lives from this fucking thing. And the instant that it hits a roadblock, which is what you're hoping for when you are fleeing a murderous robot creature, the instant that they hit it, they stop and try and fuck with it. Run, dumbasses. Run and lock doors and keep it like, really, honestly, guys, what are you doing? And then this woman stands and is like, somebody's at least got to try. And she, like, her death is treated like this heroic sacrifice. No, it's not. It's ridiculous. And you're an idiot. What are you doing? You know that bullets don't do anything. You didn't even slow it down by being there. Like, nothing that you did helped at all. Anybody. Lady.
Yeah.
Good God. Get a hold of yourself. So that's my feeling on that.
Yeah, I guess it's just that soldier thing.
I guess so, but it feels like, aren't they supposed to like weigh the pros and cons and use logic for how things have worked so far before they... She's not trying a new tactic. She's not like, well, it may not work, but at least I've got to try with something that she's never done or seen done. Guns are not new. They've tried that. It didn't work. Find a new thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
What I'm saying?
Yes, I agree. And also, Rose needs to run faster.
Rose, not seeing the panic, girl. Although, she's not wearing great running clothes. I'll give her that. It's not an ideal situation. Really, when she got home again, she should have packed like a lot like more sporty stuff, considering the amount of time she spends running for her life.
Yeah.
Now that she's with the doctor.
Like all of your sportswear.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares about your denim?
There's another scene. They're running from it. And again, it stops, and it's supposed to be a moment like, oh, I felt like it saw me and it knew me. And I understand that we need to have that moment, but they had been sprinting away from it, and a woman just died to give you the time to do that, and you both stood still to see what happened for like 10 full seconds. And then once you ran away from it again, you ran like 10 feet and stopped and chatted about it. Guys, you really need to just really dedicate yourself to running away. That should be 100% of your concern right now.
She needs to ask the doctor to install a treadmill on the TARDIS so while they're traveling, she can get better at running.
That is the thing that Harry Dresden mentions, is that he realized that he was running so much in his career that he started to take up running as a hobby because he had to, and he also learns how to fight properly because you can't always use magic in every situation. So he actually works on that because he's just like, yeah, I was running from a bad guy and I got really winded and was worried and I managed to get out of it, but it really put the fear of God in me. So now I try and be better at this. And as they're watching, the Dalek is, killing a bunch of dudes, floats up into the air and shoots the sprinkler system, and so that it can electrocute everybody, which is actually awesome. Mm-hmm. That whole scene was pretty rad and brutal. It's a family show, so we can't show blood, but we can show dudes' skeletons jumping out of their bodies, basically, because of the force of electricity.
Well, it's like the cartoons when something gets electrocuted and you see their skeleton with the shape of their body around it.
Oh my God, they did that. Do you remember that in fucking Home Alone 2?
No, I don't know if I've seen I've seen it once.
Home Alone 2 is terrible.
Yeah, well, it's also got fucking Cheeto in it. I'm never watching that movie.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But yeah, there is a moment where a dude gets electrocuted and you can see his skeleton. It's pretty ridiculous.
Is it one of the Wet Bandits?
Yep.
Yeah.
Marv.
Oh, is it Marv?
Marv, what are you doing? Marv. Don't move. So they're discussing what they're going to do. And they're talking about putting the, dropping the, what do you call it? What are the doors?
The blast doors?
Blast doors. Thank you. I kept wanting to say bulkheads because that's what somebody had said in that scene. But that would lock people in with it. And
they do call it the bulkheads.
Is it bulkheads?
Yeah. But they
weird.
are blast doors because it's supposed to withstand a nuclear attack.
Okay.
So I guess it's the same thing.
But what if that nuclear attack comes from the inside? Oh, it's so deep. And meanwhile, this Dalek downloaded the entire internet. I scanned your radio and satellite and telescopes. And apparently it was looking for its brethren. Mm-hmm. And the doctor's like, yeah, so you find anything? It's like, nope, nothing. And he's like, yeah, well, so what are you going to do? I don't know. Where do I get my orders from now? Oh, it's almost cute. Poor thing. I don't know what to do. There's nobody to tell me. Mom?
Well, he's a soldier.
Mom? Help. Yeah, it's almost sad. And he's like, well, I'll just, keep conquering. I'll just go ahead and slaughter as many as I can. And the doctor's like, oh, you know what? I'll give you an order. And he gives him an order so very fiercely that there's spit flying out of his mouth when he talks. And he tells the Dalek, why don't you just kill yourself? Why don't you just die? To which the Dalek says, you would have made a good Dalek. And he looks startled. And then the screen goes dark and he's standing there like, what kind of horrific insult was that? He was not ready.
Well, it's just 100% the opposite of how he views himself.
Mm-hmm. Surprise, bitch.
That line from the Dalek, you would have made a good Dalek, or you would make a good Dalek, was in the trailer for the episode. And even though I binged this first season, and I wasn't really sure what Daleks were, when I saw that, like, you know, on the next episode thing, I was like, ooh, that's, woo!
Yeah.
It got me all excited.
Like, Eccleston's acting in that moment when it says that to him is really the thing. Because it's like any intended insult would never have had the kind of effect that that statement had, which was meant to be a compliment. So finally, he makes the decision to close the doors, and they do close very slowly, but it is not slowly enough because Adam manages to get through. We see him just roll under, but Rose does not get there.
She's not running fast enough.
She really is not running fast enough. She needs to haul ass. And later on, the Doctor gives Adam some shit for leaving her behind. But there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really blame this guy. And he very rightly is like, I'm not the one who closed the door in the fucking first place. And I was like, yeah, true. Point.
He's clever.
So, yeah, he is a clever man. So this is the scene where we find out that the Dalek has like some sort of weird evolution going on, mutation, whatever you want to call it, as a result of having been in contact with Rose. So you hear the Dalek over the speakers say exterminate, and the sound like it's taking a shot, and he assumes that she's dead, of course. And then it turns out that she's still alive. So I guess it shot around her because we see it doing that later.
Yeah.
And it can't seem to kill her because it's like connected. We're connected.
Well, that's how I always took it too, was that because it absorbed some of her DNA, it couldn't bring itself to hurt her. Right.
Yeah.
Even though it never says that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I took it. It was just sort of like I would be hurting myself somehow here. And yeah, it turns out that it's like despite the fact that it can't kill her, it still can definitely use her as like a hostage. Mm-hmm. So it comes back online and it's just like, hey, what's up? I've got her. Did not kill her. You're welcome. Let me in. And the Doctor, at this point, he had been feeling so horrified after thinking she was dead that given the second chance, he decides that he's not going to make that mistake again. He thinks of it as a mistake. I think he made the right decision. But there it is. So he lets it in. And then they have to like go through a bunch of stuff. I love broken hairdryer. Like, that's, I think, my favorite moment in this entire, because I would never know, like, I mean, I think that's the point, right? It's supposed to be like an alien hairdryer.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, he's looking for a gun, which is unusual for the Doctor anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Can we pretend that Rose stepped aside and he pulled the trigger and it was the hairdryer? Please.
Oh, you don't know everything, Doctor.
Because that that would be so hilarious. Like, I'm just picturing that. And it would be even better if, like, he looked at the side and it said, like, Con Air or something. Like, something really obvious that even we would know. And he's just like, oh, shit. But, yeah, he comes out ready to kill this thing, telling her to move aside, and she will not do it. And is frankly disgusted with him that he's even considering doing this, especially because by the time he comes out with this gun, the Dalek has opened up its armor and is just sort of lounging in the sun because the sun's streaming through this like hole it blew in the roof. And it seems to be having like a moment and is very vulnerable. And she's kind of communing with this thing. And then he just rolls in with his giant blaster and, winds up caving under the disapproving gaze of Rose, who is just so disappointed in him, young man. Not angry, just disappointed.
She says to him that it's changing, and what are you changing into?
Mm-hmm. I love the tone that she says it in. Just the delivery of that line. And he just looks so ashamed of himself. Like, it's such a great little, like, no, I made my friend mad. Also, I like the kind of throwaway line of her saying that she never thought that she would feel the sun again.
Yeah.
Which, doesn't really make sense considering that the last episode she was on Earth. And you can go back to Earth, like, at any point. So
she thought she was going to die.
But, I guess that's true from this episode. That she thought she was going to die in this one. That's true. When I heard it, and I was thinking of her, like, thinking because of being in space travel.
Oh.
That was what she was referring to, but you're right. And in the end, despite, I guess, the doctor maybe thinking it over and realizing that he was sort of heartless to be like, why don't you just kill yourself? The Dalek takes his advice and decides to self-terminate. Now, it's not entirely clear that that's what happened. Because it just disappears.
He asked Rose for orders because of their, like, DNA connection now.
Right.
He looks at her like she's the one who can give him the order.
Right.
And he says that he just... What does he say? That he wants it to end?
I think so.
She just says, do it. And he, implodes himself. He does just go into, like, a sphere and then disappear.
And the sphere was pretty cool because it was, like, made out of the little dealies that are all around him.
Yeah.
And they all come out. He's super gross. We should mention that, like, he's way more gross than your average octopus, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit. He looks like he's... you know what? I'm going to keep that thought to myself. I was going to say something really gross. And I think I know exactly what you're going to say. And I'm not going to even say that shit out loud.
We've all seen this episode. So, we know.
I feel like that has to be the kind of thing that if you work in, like, the shop where you make this creature, that joke has to just get really old really fast. Because I bet you have to deal with this stuff all the time. I'm
also curious if this is the first time in Doctor Who that we have seen what's inside a Dalek. So if any of you people who are listening who have watched the old Doctor Who can let us know that. Let me know, and I'll pass on the information.
I'm watching, like, it talk to the Doctor right now, and the bit's, like, dripping down onto it.
Yeah.
God. And when it asks what it's mutating into, he says something different, and Rose says, isn't that better? And the Doctor says, not for a Dalek. Because, as it turns out, the Daleks were, like, racists, basically. They were into basically annihilating other races.
Ethnic cleansing.
Ethnic cleansing. That's the word I want. Thank you. Which is pretty gross.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think of it that way, this really kind of recontextualizes this whole scene. That Rose is like low-key standing in the way of him killing a Nazi. But the Nazi like is starting to feel, I don't know, maybe a robot Nazi would be the way to say it.
A Nazi with a heart of gold.
I'm not even going to go that far, Jamie. I'm not even... You took that and ran with it, and I am not following.
I'm trying to think of what what it would take to be like, no, don't kill this Nazi.
Right. And the way that it's like, it has just the one giant eye that it blinks open and shut. Ooh, it's super gross. So yeah, it finally says exterminate and closes in on itself and rises up. And then all of the little balls come out from its side, turn into a sphere, and sort of seem to zoom it somewhere else. Like it looks like it explodes and then sort of collapses. I'm not positive that that's actually it killing itself or maybe just somehow getting away. But if it did get away, I don't know where it would go to. And then we go to the second in command lady, Goddard, Donna. But she tells Mr. Creepyface that there are 200 deaths on his head, and they're going to wipe his memory and drop him off somewhere.
Seattle, San Diego, San Francisco, someplace with an S.
That's pretty fun. I would love it if that was like revealed later to be, oh, we're going to drop a piece of him in every different city. It's actually like way more grim than you guys all thought. And Rose is talking to the doctor after and tries to suggest to him that maybe if the Dalek, if there was one left, maybe there's more of his race.
Mm-hmm.
But he really believes and says that he knows that there are none others that he would be able to tell.
Yeah.
So then Adam comes running up. And the doctor is not interested at all. He left you down here. So did you. Plus, he's a bit pretty. I hadn't noticed.
Adam comes up because he's like, we have to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to cement the whole thing.
Right.
And he doesn't understand that this blue box that they're standing in front of is how they got in there in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And Rose is like, he's always wanted to see the stars. And the doctor's like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Really? This guy? Really?
A doctor just doesn't want to share her, is what it is. Like, he may not love her, but he's into her, and he's not wanting another boy around. And he sure doesn't fucking want another cute boy around. He doesn't want another cute boy who is more age appropriate for her.
Well, anybody is going to be more age appropriate. He's very old.
How dare you? How old is he in this? 38?
I'm not talking about the actor. I'm talking about the doctor is supposed to be very old.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, thousands, right? Something like that.
Not quite.
Who can tell when you jump around all the time? And so Adam winds up, he's like standing there being, so why are you all getting in a box? What are you doing? And then he winds up following them in, and it disappears.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going on adventures.
Yes.
Adam, it's better than you deserve, sir. I don't hate you, but I don't like you yet. So be on your best behavior is what I say.
Oh, he'll probably fuck things up. That's what someone like him does.
That's true. Well, all right, as long as we've got that established.
I'm just saying. He thinks he's smarter than everyone, and he's got a certain amount of arrogance about that. You're going to take him into a weird situation. I would imagine he's going to get into some kind of trouble.
I must confess that the scene where Rose is pretending to not know anything about aliens is pretty excruciating.
What? Because of him?
Yeah, because he's just like, well, I know it sounds crazy and you'd never believe it. And she has to be like, wow, yeah. That's mind-blowing or something like that. And I was just like, oh, God, this is rough.
Yeah.
It's like listening to a guy explain Ultimate Spider-Man when you've read them all.
Are you saying something about your boyfriend?
I haven't read them all, so he can go ahead and explain it. I'll just tune it out. It's fine.
No, Adam was completely mansplaining aliens to Rose, who has been to alien planets.
Yep. That's pretty funny. This poor kid. He doesn't know what he's getting into stepping into that box.
And she didn't go, well, actually, at him.
Oh. So yeah, and that's the end of the episode. And I want to mention that we've got 6 new reviews on iTunes.
Wow.
Hey guys, thanks for stepping up. 2 of them are from the UK and 4 are from the US. I'm not going to read all of them. I will read the titles of each. 5 stars by Ethrel. Ooh, this isn't going well.
Was that a sneeze?
It's spelled Etchthrell. What do you think? Etchthrell?
Sure.
Etchthrell. 5 stars. I'm already loving it.
Yay!
5 stars by Jackie May from the U.S. Great choice for show to cover. And specifically just being like, hey, thanks for doing it unspoiled on this. 5 stars by Jesse James. My nerd heart is singing.
That is my boyfriend's sister.
Which is adorable.
Jesse James is her name. Her middle name is James. Jessica James.
Jesse James. And it's chick. I like it. 5 stars from Neozect from the U.S. in all caps. Fantastic.
Yay.
Yes. 5 stars from Hypnosis Report from the UK.
That's
awesome
Juliet.
As always. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Hurrah. I especially appreciate that Natasha has gone into the show with an open mindset, which is necessary when you're dealing with dodgy 2005 CGI. And Jamie makes it clear from the beginning that Doctor Who is a family show, in all caps. And then lastly, 5 stars by... Oh, I'm not even going to try and say this. It's Liz, followed up by CFRGEHJSFJKSDA.
How do you remember that when you're logging in?
I feel like that's... But 5 stars, a delight.
Yay! We are
yeah.
delightful.
We are delightful. Thanks for noticing, guys. Thanks for being alert to our delightfulness. And yeah, that's about all I've got on the news front, except to remind everybody to become a patron at patreon.com/unspoiled. And I'm doing unspooked episodes right now for the Halloween season.
Where are you getting your stories from?
I go all kinds of different places, like Reddit, and Jezebel has like some spooky story stuff in October, and there's a couple websites that like had people like in the comments submit stories that really happened to them. So it's all just like random people commenting on the internet in different places, and I find the ones that I think are the freakiest and save
You have
them.
to let me tell you my stories.
Okay.
My ghost stories.
Yeah. Well, you have to write it to me, and then I can read it on the thing.
I can try, because I don't know if they will translate to written as well as just being told, but I can definitely write it out and I'll email it to you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I think that they're coming out pretty well. Unspooked has been like a work in progress, something that I started off without not really knowing what I wanted to do with it, and it's started to solidify into something that I am having more fun with, adding like sound effects and music and all that stuff. So it's very different than Unspoiled, but I think y'all will like it if you check it out.
It seems to be a crowd pleaser. People are really excited when you post them.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun to do. It's the sort of thing that if I had more time, I might do more throughout the year, but it is sort of fun to have it just be like a little seasonal treat sort of thing, too.
Yeah, so. I like that it's just October. It's something to look forward to.
I've done 2 so far. I'm going to do at least 1 more. I'd like to do 2 more, but most seasons I've had only 3 episodes. There's been a couple where there's been 4, but not usually. So don't hold your breath on the 4th one as much as I would like to make that happen. Just FYI, everybody. So, ma'am, is there anything that you want to mention before we wrap up?
Krista and I are moving along on season 6 of Lost. That's under Unspoiled the Constant. And the show should be on iTunes on Friday for this week. It's already up for patrons.
Whoop, whoop. Awesome. And I feel like there was one other thing that I wanted to mention, but I think I'm just going to have a little plug for our supporter, Mongoose Dog Designs, at the beginning of the show. So definitely check that out. And other than that, you all know where to find us. Facebook.com/UnspoiledPod, Twitter @UnspoiledShow, Instagram @UnspoiledPodcast, and UnspoiledPodcast.com. Thank you all so much for leaving reviews and for listening and supporting us. And until next week, toodaloo, motherfuckers. That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.